In this video, we will talk about how to take care of employees during this virtual environment that we've all been thrown into. Hi, my name is Shyam Ganesh with Grow Your Wealth Financial Planning. When I work with business owners, a lot of times we're all wondering how to take care of employees when we've been thrown into this virtual world where all the employees are forced to work from home. We don't have a Christmas this year, and it's likely that going forward, a lot of businesses will remain some form of um, virtual work. And so that creates a lot of challenges around having employees be really connected and being able to, as an employer, being able to show recognition and really continue to foster a great working culture. So to help answer some of the questions on what you can do, I have a special guest here with me. Her name is Christine Lalonde. She's with Sixth Sense Resources HR Services, company based in Edmonton, and she's got tons of experience helping business owners through these types of questions. So, welcome, Christine.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, really great to have you. Why don't we dive right into it? Like, what are some thoughts that you would share for business owners to really support their employees?
Right. Right now, it's such a challenging time on a multitude of different levels, just from workforce planning. And, if you're fortunate enough to be able to work from home, or there's a combination of being able to work from home and working in office, it has thrown a wrench in, how we work and how we communicate and how we connect. And even with COVID restrictions, how we even stand next to each other. There's just a lot of isolation that's happening right now naturally, just to keep everyone safe. But that can really take a toll on people's mental health, and stress levels. People can tend to feel isolated, alone, or just stressed out with no real outlet or normal way to, I guess, express that stress if they're not working with their teams or in office on a day-to-day basis. So my first tip would be, you check in frequently and keep communication open. I think if your team or your organization is not used to virtual teams or having a workforce that isn't in the office day to day, that check-in process and how you check in on how your team is doing becomes different automatically. You're on a virtual platform. So it's important to set some expectations so people know what to expect. But remember that everyone's situations at home are quite different. Some have young families, some have, not a proper work office right now. So, as a team leader, as a manager, business owner, depending on how big your teams are, and being able to help your managers manage better, have them schedule check-ins frequently to make sure, whether it's a 5 minute, like, you schedule your 5 minutes on specific days with each employee. Make sure you ask them personally, one-on-one, not in a huge group call, because people don't want to feel like they're failing in their jobs when they might be an A player or a star. And just make sure you can connect with them personally and let them know that you're there for them, that whatever you can do to support them through their work, that you're available, and to keep communication open, because some things might be going smoothly and then a hiccup happens. What if someone gets COVID at home, or what if, a family member is sick? There are so many ongoing changes that employees, the more you can communicate openly and feel like there's a trust, so they don't have to be scared about, being judged or that they're going to lose their job, the easier it is for you as a manager to be able to pivot, help support them, get the team to support them, and not have a person left behind in the virtual world, I guess you could say.
Having that compassion, and then creating that space on the one-on-one call to be able to share. Would you suggest that, is there any, obviously there's different ways that the call can happen. It can be a phone call, it can be a video call. Does it matter? Like, it's just more important to do, to have the call. It doesn't matter as much what the format is. Maybe email isn't the best way to do it because you can't really get all of the emotion across.
There's a lot of cues and indicators of how someone is doing by looking at them. So it is ideal, to have a video conference call. Maybe it's not all the time. I can understand the fatigue of always having to be video ready and you just want to call sometimes and just chat. But I think the most important part is the check-in. Like, you're being able to keep that consistent and showing the commitment to your employees that you want to make sure they're doing okay and that you're there to support them.
And how do you determine what a good frequency is? Like, how much is too much? How much is too little? How do you figure that out?
I really think it's really dependent on their teams. Like, if a manager has 30 subordinates, that's a lot of people to try to schedule calls with. That, they could be doing that full time. So, I think you do what you can to make sure you have a pulse on your team individuals, because it's not like that one check-in point's the only time you're going to be talking to them. There's going to be throughout the week when they have questions through emails. But if your teams are really large, and find ways to get team leads to make sure they check in, and find ways for your colleagues to connect to each other too, so that they're not just reliant on one person to talk to that's at the organization.
So some sort of buddy system, having team leaders, is there value to also having like group check-ins once a week or something like that to kind of foster camaraderie and keep that kind of team spirit up?
Yes, I think that's a really good point. I think the one-on-one's really important to allow your employee to be able to be able to be vulnerable if they need to, without worrying about sharing with their whole team. And I think naturally there's department teams and small team work teams. So for sure, I think if you can schedule in, whether it's weekly or bi-weekly, depending on the nature of how much they need to work together, to keep them their communication lines open, that's really important too, because that's the other piece is if they're working together all the time, how do you maintain that team dynamic? And so, the more they're able to communicate and call each other and feel comfortable talking in a group and remembering what it was like if they weren't virtual before, what it was like to hang out together, the water cooler talk, that's, sometimes really needed. Is like, people forget, like, oh, I don't want to sit around a computer and just talk about nothing. But sometimes when we're staying home like 24/7, it's kind of nice just having a cup of coffee and chatting with your colleagues to see how their day is not changing.
Awesome, Christine. Yeah, so really some great ideas to stay connected with the team. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, the other piece, whether it's during your check-ins or not, is really showing appreciation and recognition for each of your employees. I wholeheartedly believe that sometimes recognition and appreciation are not, people don't understand how much value they hold from an employer-employee relationship standpoint. Money and benefits are all nice and they're all a necessity. It's part of the job. That's why we go to work. But what makes the job so much more fulfilling and, is usually a top contender for why people stay in jobs is when they really feel appreciated and recognized for the value in the work that they do. When you're not seeing someone every single day in the workplace and being able to just have those 2-second conversations or connect, or a quick thank you for something you saw that they did for you, that those are small pieces of recognition. And so you really have to build it in to your schedule to find ways to make sure you can recognize your team so that they know that they're not forgotten, especially because they aren't seen every single day. Anxiety and fear are probably riding an all-time high right now when we live through a pandemic, and everyone's stress levels are probably, going through a roller coaster, and we're probably at a higher baseline than we normally are. So things that wouldn't typically stress people out are probably stressing them out now, because it's like you're not only worried about, going to work, you're worrying about getting sick, you're worrying about your family, you're worrying about who you're going to get in touch with that might have COVID. So I think any kind of recognition to let someone know they're doing great, and that you support and you appreciate them showing up and being there.
Sounds like this doesn't have to take very long. Like it could literally be 30 seconds when you notice something that the person did, to send them a quick note, or give them a call and say you're amazing. When something specific has been done by the employee, that and even something normal, I think, like just showing up amidst all the challenges.
I think that will help, create an environment of gratitude for your teams, and not just between, one individual and a manager. Is can you show each other that support, and recognize each other's strengths and additions to the team. I think that's really critical.
Amazing, Christine. So tip number one was to really connect with employees, both one-on-one and at a team level, to give them a sense of connection. Tip number two was to provide recognition as frequently as you can and as authentically as you can. What would be kind of a third tip for our listeners today, or audience?
Find some fun ways to connect, I think, and reconnect as a team, because I feel like we can't right now, we can't connect in person, we can't be around each other in large groups, and that's really tough. Like, I'm an extrovert, so it's been killing me slowly this whole year. It's like really hard not to see friends and family when you just want to hang out and see them, right, without any fear of repercussions. So I think it's really important to build in some ability to let off steam as a team. You can do a tea time or a happy hour, or a beer o'clock, or and just make sure you're connecting and chatting around the virtual water cooler. There's a lot of virtual team bonding or team building applications online, and there's games you can play. So there's like online games you can play as a group, depending on what your teams are like.
So many people I've spoken to that say that the workplace is where they meet their friends, where they have their closest relationships, their where they socialize. And so I think you brought up a great point. Like, it's not just about having the professional conversations, but also allowing for those opportunities to connect completely unrelated to work, and really, like, remembering that we are a community together, and it's not just come in, work, and go. Like, that's not what most employees get out of their experience at work.
Totally. Yeah, that's exactly it. And if you're strapped for ideas, why don't you ask your team what they think they'd be interested in? Maybe it's like a hockey pool or a football pool that we find some interesting way to virtually discuss, or maybe there has to be player swap, or I don't know. I'm not very good at those kind of pools, but I'm sure there's ways to be able to make something interesting where the team could enjoy it, or maybe it's something different every week with a different suggestion from a different employee. So there's different ways to find fun things to do as a group, if people are open to it and willing to spend a little bit of time to find something enjoyable to do together.
Amazing, Christine. 3 great tips to support employees, COVID or not, virtual or not. They're all relevant, and to really, really foster that team spirit. If you need any further ideas, or if you want to chat more about topics that are relevant to you as a business owner, Christine and I are both available, and we've created a short questionnaire below. Please take a couple minutes to fill that out, and that will also serve as a request for us to get together 30 minutes one-on-one, either with both of us or one of us, um, and chat further about about employees and anything else related to business. We're all in this together. We're all entrepreneurs, and we're super excited to connect. So thank you so much, Christine. Really appreciate having you on here.
Thanks for having me. It was great.
And thank you all again for joining this. We'll look forward to seeing you on the next video.